Yesterday's video was brutally honest, and I meant that with my whole chest. However, I must admit, it is a reaction to a lot of people trauma dumping or giving way too much information than I asked for, and also oversharing with me, particularly at work. Child, it is hard to avoid people trauma dumping to you, your coworkers trauma dumping to you at work, because I understand that sometimes you need somebody to talk to, listen, because I vent sometimes to people, but when it's the same person every day about the same thing, it gets tired after a while, and then I start to get sympathy fatigue, because it's like you're not learning your lesson, especially if you've given them advice on said thing and they keep bringing it to you. It's just like, I really don't want to hear this right now. And so that's what that was a reaction to. The flip side of that too is we are hardwired as human beings to live in community, which is why this whole era of self-care is leading to a lot of self-isolation, or the friendless era, whatever it's called. There's a loneliness epidemic happening in this country. Okay, I had to come in and finish my recording because there was a stray cat sitting outside my car, staring into my soul, and I don't like cats. Sidebar, when I first started working at the job that I'm currently working at, everybody in my department had a cat or was a cat lover, which I had never come across that many people who like cats. And this is no offense to you cat lovers out there, but I thought that shit was weird. And the whole time I'm thinking, we cannot be friends, because I am not coming over to your house and your cat scratches me and all that other stuff. Sidebar, but not really. I'm also the only black person on the team. There used to be another black girl when I started, but she was part-time, so she only worked once, maybe twice a week, and now she quit like sometime last year, or maybe it was like in 2022 that she quit. So that leaves me again by myself, and it's been like 2 years since I've been there. They still haven't hired any other black person on the team, which I do not like being the only black person on the team, because it's annoying, because then everybody wants to hear what you have to say about a specific topic, and like half the time I don't have nothing to say. I don't have an opinion. I just be thinking, I just want my shift to end and I want to clock the fuck out and go home. I don't want to get involved in you guys' liberal politics or whatever. Like, they want to discuss microaggressions, they want to discuss all these things, and like, to be clear, it isn't the whole team, it's 3 people, but because it is a small team, it feels like it's the whole team. But more on that at a later time. And just to add on to that, when I was brand new, I used to make small talk and get involved in conversations. That way it doesn't look like I'm standoffish. But now that I've been there quite a while now, it's been 2 years, I've paid my dues. So I've started to pull back on how much I say, because at the end of the day, you're just co-workers and they will throw you under the bus if they must. And so I'm just there to get my paycheck and clock out. And that's how I feel about it. Little do they know, I am not liberal. I used to claim to be liberal like back in the day, but I'm not liberal. I'm more of a moderate. So anyway, that's a huge sidebar, but I've been dying to talk about this because it can be exhausting. And I'm not an introvert. I like talking to people, but there's something about the energy at this place. And this is not to badmouth the people I work with. It's just something about the energy. I just can't. I'll make a separate video about it. The video is going to be more about trusting my instincts, which I start to trust my gut feeling over the last 3 to 4 years more than I ever have. Well, since we already opened up this can of worms, let's just keep going. I'll say this, I promise, and then I'm just going to move on to like what I was saying before about self-isolation. I'll put timestamps down if you want to skip this whole tangent, but like I think I'm gonna have a separate video about it. This is not going to be like an exposing video or anything. I don't like doing those, but I'm just talking about my experience at the job. So anyways, if you have been here for a while, you know that I used to work for Disney in Florida, and I moved back home back in 2021. And I find it funny, since we're talking about how I'm the only black team member on the team. Like, there's other black people in the store in like other departments, but my team specifically, I'm the only black team member. There is another minority and we get along pretty well, but it still remains I'm the only black person. So I find it funny because liberal/blue states such as Pennsylvania, I would argue Pennsylvania not really blue, like maybe Philly specifically, but not the whole of Pennsylvania. But anyways, like liberal/blue states always make fun of Florida and your politics and your governor, which, I mean, valid. I don't agree with all of the policies in Florida, but I feel like blue states make fun of Florida. And I find it interesting that in Florida, in Disney, I work with the most diverse group of people like that I've ever worked with in my life, period. In the 15 years that I've been working, period. Kissimmee in Orlando, Florida, obviously, there's a joke that goes around that is known as Little Puerto Rico, which means there's a lot of people from Puerto Rico who live there. And not even just Puerto Rico, but like a lot of Dominicans and people from the other islands. Similarly, at Disney, I worked with a lot of people from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica, and not just the islands. Like, I literally work with people from all over the world. If you go to Epcot's World Showcase, where they have the 11 countries, literally every single country, they have cast members from those particular countries. So if you go to Mexico, you'll find people from Mexico. If you go to Germany, you'll find cast members from Germany. You go to, I don't know, Morocco or whatever country they have there, I can't remember, Norway, all these places, they have hired people from those countries so that it gives it a feeling of authenticity. There's no point in having like 11 countries and then you have like Americans working there. It doesn't make sense. So when I say I have worked with people from all over the world, I mean that. I started out Disney doing the Disney College program, and I had roommates from England, I had some from Mexico, I had some from Brazil, I had some from Japan. So I think it's funny I come to Pennsylvania, a quote-unquote blue/liberal state. I'm the only like chocolate chip. And not just where I'm currently working. I remember when I was working in McDonald's, it was predominantly black. And I mean, to be fair, like where I worked in McDonald's in high school was low-key the hood. But my point is made. Also, this is just my experience and my point of view, so take it with a grain of salt. It's not Bible. It's just one person on the internet's point of view. Back to what I was saying. There's a loneliness epidemic happening.
Lonely, I'm Mr. Lonely.
I see all the videos about it. And I feel like the West is finally waking up to this. It's so funny because my mom has talked about this a long time ago. I was born in Cameroon. Born and grew up in Cameroon, which is in West Africa, in case you guys don't know, because there's a lot of new people on my channel. I have several of those kinds of videos on my channel if you want to go check those out. And I came to the US when I was 13, and there was a lot of culture shock to me. And one of the things that my mom noticed, or she just talked about this the other day, that we have been living in this house for the past 20 years and she still hasn't met like a few neighbors, which is wild to me. How do you live in a neighborhood for like 20 years and you don't know some of your neighbors? Because it's by design. And she had told me a few stories a while ago about like people she had known who came to either the US or some abroad country in Europe from Africa, and by the time they went back home, they went crazy from all the isolation, because it's not normal. You coming from a community-oriented country, I would argue that the whole of Africa, I know it's 52 countries, but I would argue that Africa is mainly community-oriented. We like to do things as a community. So to go from that to the US or the UK or any other country in Europe, well, let's stick with the US because that's what I know specifically. Let's stick with the US. So to go from that to the US, where everything is very individualistic, it's all
about me, or I'm in my self-care era.
These funny slogans that talk about mainly putting yourself first, which is nothing wrong with it, but there can be too much of something. But all of these things really make you isolated. Even capitalism itself promotes individualism, which promotes loneliness, if you think about it, because if everybody's hustling, trying to like make money, everyone's busy, where's the time to connect with people? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And I'm glad people are waking up to that. the whole point of what I'm trying to say is, yes, us humans are hardwired to live in community, but there can be such a thing as TMI. Some things are better left unsaid. Oversharing, things that you should not be talking to other people about. Like for me, I just feel like relationships, whether it be romantic or like in your family, like family business should never leave the house. Like I just find it strange people will be sharing all kinds of things about your family, and not just sharing, but like bad mouthing your moms and your dads. I find that shit weird. Like, and I don't know like what the situation between your parents is. It could be a terrible situation, so I'm not judging them for a terrible relationship with your family, but for me personally, you sharing that with me or everybody else for that matter, if you share that with me, I can keep that to my grave. But sharing it with everybody and making such a big deal out of it, it's kind of strange to me. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of someone who does that quite frequently at my job, and it makes me very uncomfortable. Anyway, just to clarify what that video was all about, and yeah, I'm not backtracking from it, I'm just explaining the root of it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.